guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to do a video to discuss some books that I thought had some serious potential. What I mean by this is these are all books that I ended up giving like 3 stars or maybe a little bit higher, but they had the potential to be 5-star books for me if they just changed a couple of little things that like really irritated me or just didn't work for the story or just made the characters not feel like the same people. I just wanted to be mentioning 10 books that I think had so much potential to become new all-time favorite books of mine, and they just kind of missed a mark on something, and I'm going to be explaining to you why I think certain books lacked in their fullest potential without giving any spoilers. 2,000 miles in an ocean away. First book I wanted to mention for this is kind of the book that inspired me to do this. Pieces of Me by Melanie Hansen. This is a male-male romance book that follows these 2 guys named Rylan and Scott. The first half of this book is like so insanely beautiful and like such a powerful story and had so much potential to become one of my new favorite books of all time, and it was easily 5 out of 5 stars up until the halfway point. It has a time jump of about 6 years that is just so incredibly random, and they are completely different characters after the 6-year mark. Like, this book, it basically follows these 2 boys as young teenagers, and they become stepbrothers, and then one of them starts to have feelings for the other one, and it's such a beautiful story, and it made my heart die, and it was just so good, right? And then the second half of this book is ridiculous, and it kind of pisses me off, and the main characters aren't even acting like who they are. It's just very confusing. It's so frustrating because like the first half of this book for me is easily a 5 out of 5 stars, and then the second half of this book for me is like maybe a 1 or 2 stars. So it's like, how do you rate a book like this, you know? They feel like they're completely different books. So this is why I ended up giving this book 3 stars, and I feel like this book had so much potential, but it was wasted. Second book I'm going to mention is Moonshot by Alessandra Torre. This is kind of similar to what I mentioned in this last book, how this book kind of has a random time jump. The second half of the book feels like a completely different book than the first half of the book, and this is so irritating when authors do this. It follows this girl who's like dating this baseball player, like she's the bad girl and then he's a Yankee, and they start dating, and it's so cute. I loved the first half of this book. I just thought it was so adorable, and it was written so well, and I shipped it so hard. It changes from this like cute romance to this like weird unnecessary thriller, and it tries to be something that is just not, you know? Like I didn't see it going there. It didn't need to go there, and it just kind of ruined the overall mood of the book, and it really sucks. Why do this to me? I loved the beginning so much. Ugh. Alright, so the next one on my list is Too Late by Colleen Hoover. This is a story that she wrote for her Wattpad that she ended up getting published. This book would have been a lot better if the characters had just been fleshed out a little bit more. I think the characters in this book, Carter and Sloane, are the main love interests in this book, and I just think like their characters weren't really fleshed out that well. I mean, none of the characters in this book are very likable, but that's usually not a problem as long as the writing is good. Like, the writing is good in this book, it's just by the end of this book it gets a little like way too unrealistic in my opinion, and it just kind of like ruined the overall feeling of the book for me. Also, I never felt any real chemistry between Carter and Sloane. I mean, maybe I would have liked this book a lot more if I felt a very strong connection between Carter and Sloane during the majority of this book. Maybe it would have helped with the like suspense of like, oh my god, what's gonna happen, you know? But like for some reason I never really felt the like chemistry between them, and it kind of made me not love this book as much as I could have. The next one on my list is Good Boy by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. Wanted to love with everything in me, and I ended up just thinking it was okay. These are 2 of my favorite authors coming together. These 2 authors came together and wrote the book Him, which is one of my favorite books of all time, so it's safe to say I had high expectations going into this one. So I should have like loved this, right? But you know, Blake's character is just so immature and kind of annoying. He's like one of those characters that's really good to have as a side character, but as a main character, like, good lord, he's just so annoying. He says things like Jesus and, you know, just all these like really annoying fuckboy type of things that are just annoying. Like, he's just annoying. Only reason I really love this book is because we get to see glimpses of Wes and Jamie after they're married, but as far as the main romance of the story goes, I wasn't totally shipping it, and I don't really like Blake as a main love interest. He's just annoying. And the next book I have is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, young adult fantasy novel. It's Rainbow Rowell for one, she's one of my favorite authors for sure. But I do think that this book didn't have enough of Simon and Baz like together. I didn't really care for in this book how there's like random chapter perspectives from like all these random characters. Like there's a perspective chapter for like so many characters in this, and I just wanted to read this book from Simon and Baz's perspectives. That's all I really cared about. This book could have been so much better, and there was a lot of like, since this is a fantasy and I don't actually read a lot of fantasy, there was a lot of like info dumping all over the place of like what this world is about and all the like weird things that happen in this world, and I just wasn't very interested in that. It got kind of boring for me at times, but if this just had a lot more Simon and Baz and chapters only from their point of views, it could have been a lot better. The next one I have is Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. This book is about a book within a book. It's about this couple who used to be together when they were kids, and then he wrote a story about their lives as kids, and then we get to see them as adults when she's reading his best-selling novel about their childhood. I loved the book within the book that takes place that he wrote about when they were younger. Like their younger story was like so beautiful and one of my favorite things I've ever read in my life. But them as an older couple, like their real life older selves, him as an author and her as like this adult who's reading the novel, I hated them. I couldn't stand them. There was no chemistry between them. He was an asshole. I did not ship them together in real life at all. Like, I loved their story that he wrote about their younger selves. God, he's such an asshole in real life, and he's nothing like the younger character that he wrote about of himself. So it kind of like ruined the whole thing for me. The next book I have is Dreamology by Lucy Keating. This is about a girl who dreams about this boy for like her entire life, even though she's never met him in real life, and then she meets him in real life, and it's batshit crazy, and they're trying to figure out why she's been dreaming about him her whole life. This book had so much potential to be very great because I think this concept is so cool, and the way they went about it in the beginning of the book was really interesting, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? What's happening? But then it starts to focus on this bullshit, cheesy young adult romance that I just don't. It's very insta-lovey, for one. It involves, like, this isn't a spoiler or anything because it's mentioned pretty much in the beginning, that he has a girlfriend, and they're still, like, going about their romance, like, as if he doesn't have a girlfriend, and it's just like, no. Like, what, you think I'm okay with the cheating just because it involves the two main characters being happy or something? No. I hate that about this book. The next one I have is At the Edge of the Universe by Sean David Hutchinson. This is a book that I had super high expectations going into because Sean David Hutchinson is one of my favorite authors now with We Are the Ants, one of my favorite books of all time. To be honest, it just didn't live up to the potential that it had. It had a really great cast of characters and it was going places that was so great. It was kind of like We Are the Ants. It's like a copy-paste, change a couple things like We Are the Ants. You know, it's about this boy who nobody remembers his boyfriend who's disappeared. He thinks that the universe is shrinking, you know, kind of like in We Are the Ants. He thinks that the world's gonna end. This was definitely an interesting premise and it had so much going for it. But the ending of this book fucking pissed me off. It was just such a ridiculous, stupid ending and I hated it. And it kind of just ruined the whole purpose of the whole thing for me. It just, like, the whole book now feels like it's not what it could be. I also wasn't a very huge fan of the main love interest, Calvin, in this book. I just thought he was kind of like, he was no Diego from We Are the Ants, you know what I'm saying? Like, Diego was like, perfect. Next one is The Cellar by Natasha Preston. This is a book that has a very interesting concept. It's about this girl that gets abducted by this guy and he brings her down to his cellar where he keeps a bunch of these other young girls down there and he names them all after flowers. Like, he's obsessed with all these different flowers, so he names her Lily. It started off so promising. It was very creepy and very intense. The ending of this book got so unrealistic and cheesy and just like, I don't know what happened. It went so bad. And I hate how the majority of this book is main character whining and crying and bitching about not being able to get out of this cellar, not being able to do anything about it. And I'm like, you guys are like 4 girls down there against one guy. Like, come on, you don't think you can all like take him on, you know what I mean? Like, there was just so many missed opportunities for them to escape. It just felt so unrealistic. Like, get on your feet and do something about it, you know? And the last book I'm gonna mention is We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. This is a book, there's an asteroid coming towards Earth Earth, and that's basically the whole premise of the book. And I thought this was such a cool idea for a book, and I thought it was going to be very like beautiful and poetic. And half of this book it's like some parts of this book are so beautiful and like written so well, it like gives me chills, and I was just like obsessed with it. And then some parts of this book are so cheesy and ridiculous, and it honestly felt like it was written by two different people at some points. I didn't like the huge cast of characters this book has. It follows 4 main ones, but there's like a ton of characters you have to try and keep track of in this book, especially if you're not reading this book in one sitting. It's very hard to go back into this and try and remember which characters are which. Could have been so much better. It had such a cool premise. Those are all of the books that I think had great potential and could have possibly been 5-star books if they just like got their shit together a little bit. Unfortunately, I had some problems with these books, but they all had the potential to be so good. I just want to know, what are some books that you guys think like could have had so much potential but didn't quite live up to the hype, or didn't quite get to that 5-star mark for you, but you're like disappointed about it because it could have been so good if there had just been one thing or a couple things different about it, you know? I want to know, because I do find myself thinking this a lot when I'm reading books. Like, these are my top 10 that I'm like, really, I had such high hopes for, and I really wanted to love them, and then I didn't, and it was very disappointing for me because I just wanted to love them. They had so much potential. I'm sorry, I'm getting angry about this, but I want to know, do you guys agree with me on any of these, or do you think I'm being too harsh, or what do you guys think about these books if you've read them? Do you agree with me, or do you think they are 5-star books and I'm just nuts? Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.